Continuing from episode 5, Seiya and Isuzu were in a meeting with several employees. There, Seiya wanted to deliver some bad news. Currently, they were running low on funds, so it seemed that the employees might not be able to receive their salaries this month. It appeared that Seiya's idea to set all the tickets at 30 yen was not successful. Upon hearing this, Macaron and Tirami were the first to protest. Due to this, Seiya needed an idea to make a lot of money quickly. The employees present at the meeting were given small boards to illustrate their ideas. Finally, Isuzu offered a suggestion that was less clear from her strange illustrations. Seiya was still unsatisfied with the ideas on the table. Suddenly, Macaron remembered something. He said there was Dornell's cave in the park. Seiya was unaware of this fact, and Isuzu reminded him that Amaburi had a second park in the southern area. In that region, there was a cave. In the past, the park employed someone named Dornell. One night, he got drunk and conducted a courage test with his friends. Just when Moffel was about to start his story, Seiya immediately urged him to get to the point. It appeared that Dornell and the others found treasure in a cave. Afterwards, Seiya, Isuzu, Moffel, Macaron, and Tirami went to the second park. There, they found a fairly large stadium. Initially, the southern section was planned for a sports amusement park, and the first structure built was the stadium. Shortly after, financial losses led to the cancellation of construction. The entire southern park, including the stadium, was abandoned since then. They then proceeded to the cave that Macaron had mentioned. It was rumored that Dornell never returned from the cave. Hearing the story, Seiya became curious about what had happened to Dornell's friends. It seemed they were found at the mouth of the cave in a pitiful condition. One of them mentioned that deep within the cave was a massive underground labyrinth, and they saw treasure in it. Nevertheless, Seiya didn't place too much hope on this treasure tale. After walking for quite some time in the cave, they reached a dead end. Tirami, who had been hoping to find treasure, began to panic. He tried to find a way through the dead-end wall. Seiya felt foolish for listening to this nonsense. However, somehow, Tirami suddenly discovered a hidden lever. When he pulled the lever, the wall blocking their path instantly opened. While the others had already entered the hidden passage, Seiya still felt the need to wait and assess the situation. However, because the others were too eager, he decided to enter as well. As expected, the stone that had opened now closed behind Seiya. In this situation, their only option was to venture deeper into the cave. Meanwhile, 4 elemental fairies came to Seiya's office to discuss their new performance. However, they couldn't find Seiya or Isuzu there. Muse tried to send a message to Isuzu to inquire about their whereabouts. Isuzu, currently inside the cave, received the message. Apparently, there was still some signal reception in the cave. Isuzu responded to the message with a slightly peculiar emoticon. Shortly after that, Seiya and the others arrived in a large room. There, they encountered a talking statue. Suddenly, several chests containing various weapons appeared before them. The statue granted them the freedom to choose weapons to combat the monsters. Moffel received a stun gun. Tirami obtained a Molotov cocktail. Macaron got an iron club. Seiya selected a shovel from the chest. And Isuzu was given a chain. After choosing their weapons, the statue allowed them to pass through a door to begin their adventure. Macaron and Tirami reminded the others not to let their guard down during the journey. However, Macaron accidentally triggered a trap by stepping on something. A slight misstep could have been fatal for both of them. Macaron and Tirami panicked and wanted to go back. However, Moffel insisted that they stay calm and remain vigilant. Moffel formed an ideal defensive formation. He and Tirami would guard the front line, while Macaron was responsible for watching their backs and reporting any traps he spotted. Meanwhile, Isuzu was tasked with protecting Seiya with her firearm. However, just as they formed the formation, Moffel himself triggered another trap. It activated a large stone ball rolling towards them. At that moment, Isuzu received another message from Muse. Muse wanted to know if Isuzu was with Seiya. Given the situation, Isuzu could only reply that she was about to die, accompanied by another strange emoticon. Seiya and the others continued to run and faced an endless array of traps. At one point, Seiya narrowly avoided a trap, thanks to Isuzu's protection. Macaron was also thrown and found himself in the same situation. They didn't have time to worry about Seiya and Macaron. Consequently, Saya, Moffel, and Tirami decided to keep running and avoid the traps. After running quite a distance, they took a break in an area different from the trap-filled place before. Saya couldn't stop thinking about Isuzu falling into the trap earlier. Then it seemed that Tirami heard something approaching not far from there. It turned out to be a group of armed pig monsters surrounding them. Instead of fear, Moffel and Tirami became enthusiastic about eliminating the monsters with the weapons they had acquired. Nevertheless, Saya had to join the fight reluctantly. However, he became confused about who the real villain was when he saw Moffel and Tirami's behavior. On the other side, Isuzu and Macaron woke up in a prison cell. Without much thought, Isuzu immediately shot the cell's padlock with her firearm. Upon getting out, Isuzu felt something strange. The atmosphere was too calm. She expected sirens or something. At that moment, they heard laughter coming from behind a room. When they looked, there was someone chuckling to themselves in front of a computer. The room was filled with posters of beautiful girls and shelves full of books. The person in the room then turned around upon realizing there were others. Macaron immediately recognized the face. It was Dornell. Saya and the others finally managed to defeat all the monsters. They were very exhausted, and Tirami had run out of Molotov cocktails. Out of nowhere, a few more monsters suddenly appeared. The three of them decided to escape to a deeper area. On the other hand, Dornell finally explained what had happened to him to Isuzu and Macaron. In essence, because no one came to rescue Dornell from the cave, he spent his free time watching anime and playing online games. Somehow, Dornell kept doing it for 10 years. Dornell stated that the place was very comfortable. He demonstrated this by trying to make a phone call and asking for snacks. Macaron informed him that the others in Amaburi had already assumed Dornell was dead since he hadn't been found for so long. Initially, Dornell didn't want to contact the others outside because he saw the situation as a short holiday. However, over time, he became addicted to the situation. From Dornell's story, Isuzu became curious about why Dornell didn't disappear if he lived far from the public eye. Dornell believed it was because he developed a fan club by pretending to be a girl in online games. Suddenly, a mole rat appeared carrying snacks. The mole rat referred to Dornell as its master. Let's get back to Saya and the others. Due to their haste, they were unaware that the room was inhabited by a dragon. The dragon could speak and introduced itself as Delilah, the Crimson Dragon, claiming to have surpassed human knowledge. She asked why they had awakened her from slumber. Saya tried to answer her politely and truthfully. However, Delilah, who claimed to have surpassed human knowledge, didn't believe Saya's words. She was convinced that they must be after her treasure. Then, the door they had secured was breached by the pursuing monsters. At that moment, it seemed Saya had an idea. He taunted Delilah, who had declared herself to be beyond human knowledge, by stating that he was far smarter. Therefore, Saya challenged the dragon to ask him anything. If his answer was correct, the dragon had to release them. As the dragon began to ask her question, Saya activated his mind-reading ability. Even before the dragon had finished asking the question, Saya could provide the correct answer. However, the dragon refused to accept defeat. Suddenly, for some reason, Moffel felt that he could defeat the dragon. In an instant, Moffel leaped high and struck the dragon. Just like that, the dragon immediately started crying and begged for mercy. She admitted that she was only trying to entertain the guests. She said they were the second group to visit the Crimson Delilah's fiery trial attraction. Suddenly, Isuzu and Macaron arrived in the room using the emergency door. Isuzu confirmed the dragon's words. Moffel and Tirami were also surprised to see Dornell there. And it turned out that the pig monsters from earlier were just mole rats wearing costumes. Afterward, all the attraction employees gathered to explain to Saya and the others. There was a mole rat in charge, named Teramo. While still in the magical world, the mole rats lost in terms of technology and development, making them the target of those who were stronger, specifically the Policia Kingdom. At that time, Amaburi quietly allowed them to use this area as a shelter. However, they were required to create an attraction to cover the administrative matters. Initially, the mole rats also received construction funds, but afterward, they had to sustain themselves. The mole rats informed that there should have been treasure here, but they had used it all up. Following this, Saya and Isuzu reported everything that had happened to Lataifa. Suddenly, the mole rats and Crimson Delilah arrived as well. This was followed by the arrival of Moffel, Macaron, and Tirami, and they had news that the Policia Kingdom had actually crumbled after the revolution. This meant that the mole rats would no longer be targeted. Not only relieved, but the mole rats also asked Saya to employ them in this park. The same went for the Crimson Delilah. Then, Macaron had a brilliant idea to address the budget shortage problem. They could sell all of Dornell's collectibles. However, the money from that would only cover this month's expenses, and their financial problem would resurface next month.